When you won your first Indy 500, what was that experience like? I mean, pulling into Indy and going out there, and after having failed to qualify just a few years before, going back there and winning the race, the biggest race in North American motorsports, arguably the world. At that point, I guess, you feel like you're at the top of the mountain?
No, I just felt like we won another race.
I know. Did you know it? Did you know he was gonna? It wasn't even a goal.
Another race. Yeah.
No, see, I had to learn that.
That came.
I had to learn all
down
that.
the road. Yeah.
Because I won it my second attempt. Mm-hmm. First attempt we were on the front row.
Yeah.
And it was and I always tried to keep that place as just another race on another track, for my own.
I don't see how that's possible.
But that's the hard part.
Yeah.
I went the opposite. I always toned myself down, not pump myself up.
But how do you do that at that spectacle?
Visually, it seems like it.
Well, that's why I left my helmet unbuckled the first race. Was doing that.
You were being so nonchalant about it that you left your helmet unbuckled for the race?
Yeah, basically what happened was, we qualified on the front row, right? So after qualifying, all the way up to race time, it was all about, is the rookie going to make a mistake on the front row? Is the rookie going to blow it? Is the rookie going to do this? So I made up my mind I was not going to make a mistake at the start of the race, right? So, and again, I don't like, not that I don't like it, but I like to stay out of all the hoopla and everything. And I wanted to stay relaxed. I've got 500 miles to get excited, Why do I need to be excited in turn one? That's when you make mistakes. So I stayed in the hotel room as long as I could, then went out to the garage, stayed in the garage as long as I could before time to get in the car, right? So I was trying to stay calm, cool, and collected. Well, in all my calmness, I was late getting in the car. So now I was almost late, so now I had to hurry to get to the car and get in it, right? So now I'm running behind. So I'm throwing everything on it, and I buckled the helmet and gave it a tug and jumped in the car and got all buckled in and took off. And we come around and get to green, and going down the back chute after taking the green, the window on the helmet starts going up like this. I go,
my gosh.
You got to be kidding me. I reached up and grabbed my helmet and pulled it back down. And every time I turned loose the helmet, there was a kind of almost a vacuum from the windscreen, the air going over the top.
Just pushing it up?
Is lift on the helmet.
Yeah.
So it was lifting the helmet. So the window kept going up. So it was unbuckled. And now here I am, my first race with Roger, and I don't want to make this call into the team and say, hey, I forgot to buckle my helmet. And so I put it off for a few laps. And so after running 3 or 4 laps, whatever it was, running with one hand holding the helmet down, I thought, this is nuts. I'm going to take me and somebody with me, if I don't do something. So I finally got up the nerve to call in and say, hey, guys, my helmet's unbuckled. I need to make a stop. And fortunately, we got a yellow at the same time.
Oh, wow.
And so that allowed us to come in and get the helmet buckled up and take back off again. But that was all part of the being relaxed and,
So this is how the 1979 Indy 500 started?
No, this is 78, the year
78
before. My first year,
gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, your first year.
Yeah.
All right. Well, racing blind, that's new. That's a new tactic, right?
It wasn't fun.
But you go win the next one.
Yeah.
And we all know that that's not something. It's just another race, and you're keeping it low key and all that stuff. You remember to buckle your helmet this time, I assume.
Yes.
How did that week go, or that race go for you?
Oh, yeah, it was good. Let me get back to the learning part, the first part of the question, having to learn that, what it felt like winning that. Again, I never dreamed of being there, and I didn't have family that ran there. I didn't know what Indy meant.
Yeah.
I had to learn what Indy meant.
When did that happen?
Well, it was a progress.
Yeah.
And with time, the first one it was kind of like I knew it was the biggest race, right? And very excited about it. But it was still another race. It wasn't the Super Bowl to me yet. But with time, when you start, after you're there for a few years, and you're going to the parade downtown, and you see what it means to the city, and
right.
you know, and you start learning all of that kind of thing, the history, taking a look at the history and how many years it's been there and all that. I knew nothing about all that.
Right.
So
that makes sense now.
So I had to learn that, and with time it grew.
Yeah.
You know, more and more all the time.
You had a pretty incredible career, won a lot of races, and then, I mean, as you're winning, you won 4 Indy 500s. By the time you get to 3, 4, you know that there's only a couple guys that have won 4, right? You're not only a winner, you're not only having success at this premier level, you're doing things that only select few guys have ever done. And I know you mentioned your ego a few times, so I'm sure that thing is getting big. But at what point were you able to sort of get a little reflective and really take some stock and pride in how far, you know, what you had done, what you accomplished, how you had singled yourself out amongst your peers?
I never really did that. Kind of not doing that is what helped drive me. You know, it's like it's like showing off. You know, when you show off is when you stub your toe. To me, it's like I could line up. I've never had a lot of confidence in the car. I mean, and to me, it was a good thing. I could line up and run the same race 10 times against the same people and win all 10 of them. And when I'd go into the 11th, sitting on the line getting ready to go, I could look at that group and somebody's going to kick my butt.
Yeah.
You know, and it was, I never understood how somebody say, well, I was going to win that race or I'm going to win this one.
Yeah.
You know, I've never agreed with that.
That's a personality trait.
Yeah, because it was always about how do I get the next one.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't, and to me, records, I never did anything for records or for a dollar. I never knew if a race paid $1 or $1 million.
Yeah.
Until after it was over. You know, that just wasn't why I was there. It's like I remember some of the early contract. I remember when incentives first came into our sport in the contracts. You know, a bonus for this or a bonus for that. Well, when I started, there wasn't any of that in the contracts. And when that first started coming up, I said, Roger, I don't need the bonuses in there. I said, I think we ought to just do this. I said, you know, what I've been doing is working. And if I start looking at things like that, I'm liable to do things I wouldn't normally do and create problems and make mistakes. To me, if I run any harder for a bonus that you give me, you ought to fire me. Because I should already be doing it. That's just the way I've always looked at it. Yeah. When I hear somebody say, oh, it's contract time, they're standing up in the seat. Well, if that was my driver, they'd be gone. You know, because they should have been standing up in the seat the first race, not at contract time.
Yeah.
But that's just the way I always looked at it. So I've just never let myself kind of get into that mode. And I always felt like records were something I'll look at later. I didn't do anything for a record. Yeah. Every time at Indy, I'd never, okay, this is going to be for the second one, or this is going to be for the third, or whatever. It was always about another race.
Did you like that conversation we were having with Rick Mears? Well, you can listen to the entire podcast because the Dale Jr. Download is available on all major podcast platforms.